Why was I born on this earth? I'm excited to share a roadmap, to share an overview of, the business world, business modeling. It sounds so business school or academic. I'd like to share it in a practical way because the reason why I love to do it is because I believe business, entrepreneurship are one of those terrains in the human condition, which are it's a practical terrain for creative expression, for renewal. We can become better socially, we can become better environmentally, and of course we need to our finances as well as part of the deal. So I'm excited to share this simplified, metaphor-rich adventure with SAFREANs around the table and also on video, and to maybe elicit some renewal, some change, some focus, to help people understand what our businesses are about, so that the value exchange becomes smoother, that we can get to human connection, we can get to all the joy that we also want in business.
Great, good luck with your talk.
Thank you. So, social distancing, bleep, 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 bleep. Remove mask. Wow, I'm so desperate. I've been so desperate for a gig throughout lockdown. I must say I'm going to give you a round of applause. So from my side, welcome. Welcome to a lovely afternoon in probably one of the loveliest spots in the center of central Middle Earth called Bloemfontein. After Eloise has passed us by, my neighbor, his ex-wife's name is Eloise. So he's known for a while that an Eloise spells trouble. Yesterday evening, I found out when I got into the roof with buckets and empty ice cream containers to start plugging our 70-year-old Madam House's roof every here and there. Got 6 of the leaks, and I hope that's that. So we'll wait for the dry weather. What interesting times. There's a Chinese proverb that wishes that upon us. And I remember I used to love saying to people, may you live in interesting times. I rarely say that these days, except when reflecting on me saying that in earlier times. So lovely to have you here with, I think, something that concerns us all. I shared with a number of you that I've been I had been a SAFREA member in the previous decade. That's also something we can say now. There's a decade that's passed, new decade, the 20s at last. And it's wonderful to be with people who have the freelancing spirit in their bones. And I must say, I'm actually also a freelancer in my heart. However, I've become so busy at times that, if you freelance all the time, it feels like full-time, part-time, I don't know what. But yeah, the freelancing brought me last year, just before lockdown, the first lockdown. The director of executive education at Koffsies phoned me. He said, and this is words I'd been waiting for 45 years to hear from another person. He said, I literally don't know whom to give the following assignment to. Would you like to listen? I said, yeah, sure. And he said, there's a group of brothers and sisters with disabilities in Kimberley. And we've already signed the contract. The funds have been paid in. They want a new venture creation experience that is sort of stripped of all the academics, stripped of all the jargon, etc., etc. I said, well, what a blessing. And then lockdown, which allowed me to work deeply and gooi stories in, and gooi poetry in, and gooi music in, and gooi co-creative exercises in. And we ended up going to Kimberley in October. And wonderful how the new venture creation has actually taught me after a number of years of experimenting in sort of what should my value proposition be, as this singing, storying, businessing, and I've got a rootstock of accountancy as well, gooied into the mix. What should I be, and what do people value? What problems can I solve for people, and what do they value? I love to strive for the what do they value when I work professionally. So it was a mirror for me, and I would like to share some of that mirror, just a touch of that mirror. I mean, it's a 12-week online program, and it's 12 full contact days spread over 3 months. I'll try to condense it to some poetic and inspirational conversation here this afternoon, to get some of that mirror in front of you, and also a mirror which can be a window, because after we see ourselves and we understand the need, we understand the problems through the window, I believe that's where the business magic happens. So, yes, I've noticed my hat is getting lonely, so 2 things I've been searching for: perfect pants and the perfect hat. And I'm very happy to be wearing both today. I don't know what favorite items of clothing some of you are always looking for, that perfect. Would you like to share?
Pair of jeans, probably.
Jeans?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you find it, then you just pay that.
Yeah.
But to find it is the harder part.
Yeah.
Get the one that you like.
I mean, this pair is like stretch, like unbelievable, through thick and thin. It's wonderful. So, I asked a question to you on the handout that I sent to you, and it's from that question that I'd like to just introduce a story which I believe to point towards the best business or the best business plan. And by the way, in front of you, you've got my favorite object in the world, which is the blank piece of paper. And if you flip it, which we'll do later, or you can do it whenever you want to, you'll find my second most favorite object in business and startup coaching, and that's the business model canvas. So, once upon a time, Nasruddin went to the bathhouse in Eastern Europe in the depth of winter. Now there, on a good day, it was 24 degrees Celsius below zero. So it was freezing. If you stood still for too long, that would be your last stand. So Nasruddin entered the bathhouse, and the bathhouse attendant was sitting there, non-committally paging through his magazine, flipping and licking and flipping and licking. You know how that non-committal, pre-COVID, we used to do that, hey? He was sitting there, just, hi. He gave him an old rag of a towel, probably dirty. It smelled dirty. He ran him a lukewarm bath, did the attendant. So Nasruddin was in the bath for only a few minutes when it became almost as cold as the outside. So he got out of the bath, he toweled himself off, and he got dressed. And on his way out, he paid the attendant with a gold coin. Okay. We'll leave that story there. TBC. Because see, gold is a wonderful substance. The old alchemists had this beautiful, poetic mission, vision, whatever, driving force that they would take metals with lower qualities like lead, and they will work it through their processes to work it, and transform it to silver, transform it to gold. And even though today people point fingers at the old alchemists and laugh at them, ha ha ha, what snake oil salesmen were they? However, had it not been for them, we would not have modern chemistry. So how wonderful that we focus on something in a certain time with such intensity. 20 years later, we laugh at ourselves or at those who came before us. And then we can honor also the fact that we need to build off of each other. And I also believe in the business world, that's very true as well. Wonderful to see the mix of SAFREANs and, just seeing the eyes and the pens, and the paint brushes, and also the sound people, sound ladies and gentlemen around this table. So the diversity is wonderful. Now, I would like to ask you, where would you like to start from the letter I sent out? The Dear SAFREA member letter. I sent a letter out with some questions, suggested activities, etc. Is there something that popped out from that list?
Can I answer that?
Please.
I must confess, I didn't read it in much detail, but what immediately jumped out at me was number 5, time. I just have an issue nowadays.
Okay.
Maybe it's been, coming a long way, but the way we use our time. And as a freelancer, my overriding experience was I never have enough time anymore. So I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong.
Okay.
There's maybe a different way of managing time or some magical solution you can give us today.
Yes, there is, and I'm going to share it in 3, 2. No, but thank you very much for that. I believe that, time, one of the things I like to say in strategic communication is time is our canvas, authentic living is our art. And I don't know who said that, but I quite like it. And if time is our canvas, which we move, it's there, it's either moving past us like a film reel or like a river. We'll have different visions of time. So let's maybe start there. For me, time is often like a canvas / rope around my neck. Any other symbols that you've formulated for what time is? How do you view time in your life, creatively speaking? For me, time is ellipse.
Angry dog chasing you.
Angry dog. So can you see the difference between how we experience it? The dangerous force from behind, and I'm the pulling forward, the leash. So it's also I'm the dog in my / Any other metaphors?
I don't have a metaphor, but there's no, with COVID, there's no borders. Everything is just like it flows and
blurred.
it's very blurred.
I love what you're saying. This transition to what the so-called hybrid way, the hybrid mode of work. Some days or some moments office, some moments client, some moments home office, some moments bedroom, some moments TV, etc., etc. Isn't it wonderful the amount of, or the sheer extent of immediate transformation we've had to do in the last 12 months? I mean, from a virus, I think the first virus in my life that doesn't respect summer and winter borders anymore, all the way down to the borders of time, the work-life separation on the route to work-life integration is blurred. Okay, thank you for that. Leonie, any other inputs?
If I think of time, it's like I see a balance rope. Because if I think of time, I say, listen, I have to balance the time. There must be time to relax, time for work, time for a movie, time for the kids, time to make food, time. So is that rope between 2 high-story buildings, or is it a rope that actually 1 meter from the ground? So if you fall off the rope, you're not dead if it's low. But if it's connected to these 2 buildings and you fall off, then it's the end. So for me, I just see a rope. You have to balance time.
Okay. And I love that.
So the rope's not around
Sorry,
my
Leonard.
neck. The rope's not around my neck, but underneath my feet, meaning I have to balance this thing. That's how I see it.
That's my problem. I'm holding the rope on the one side. So thank you for the rope. Thank you for the blurry. Any other metaphors?
but I think about it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I started to, because I was not brought up that way, but if you believe things, certain beliefs and values your whole life, to
Yes.
change it, you can't change it in an instant, or like they used to say, change your attitude. That doesn't happen, but it's a habit of thinking differently, and I have been able to do it at times, to see time differently, that time isn't restricting me all the time, that I'm actually in charge of my time. I can decide what I do with it. It's a little bit different. It sounds easy, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
No.
I must say, a metaphor which came on strongly with this beautiful blessing of the new venture creation adventure, which I was allowed to co-create, and now I market it and just I want to share it with the whole world, is in 3 months, when we eased the lockdowns, September, October, we were supposed to do 25 businesses. I ended up doing 141 businesses through the process. 2 groups online, 1 group remote, 1 group in Kimberley. So I got to that place of, a lot of it was joyous work which I loved, and the reciprocity in my audiences were there, etc. And then I thought about, how do I feel about time now? And then I realized this opportunity that came into my professional, what we call it, quiver, was almost of the nature of a permanent tidal wave. So it's not a tidal wave that just comes and it will subside. It's just the water which chases me like a dog is now permanently, it's like the wall. And while I'm enjoying it on a surfboard, on the lip there of the wave, it can crush me. It's almost like the tightrope. It can crush me. However, what a joy to say, okay, maybe I can also sleep on this. Maybe it's a longboard. Maybe I can sleep on it, on the lip of the wave. I don't know. But I love these metaphors. Thank you. And I think we can have a point of view where we say that we have a relationship with time, because psychologically speaking, it's definitely true. If time is a river, do we feel pulled by white waters to some rocky destination, or are we with the river? Same thing as with so that's the poetic side. Getting practical. Thank you for getting things done, the David Allen system, into the mix. Because when I thought about SAFREA and freelancers, I firstly thought of, is there a way to define a freelancer? And I quickly went to I'm taking a little detour, getting back to time. Just our earliest written evidence for freelance comes from Sir Walter Scott's Ivanhoe, in which a lord refers to his paid army of freelancers without the R. When freelance first came into English in the early 1800s, it was used to refer to a medieval mercenary who would fight for whichever nation paid them the most.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful legacy, wonderful shoulders that we stand on. Don't you agree? So, in terms of time, and then I thought of how am I a freelancer? I think in that I like to process life creatively, meaning today happens and I want to sort of put something into the mix today. Or I hear something new and I want to think about it and then come back. So when I got into Getting Things Done of David Allen, and which I will definitely in the notes which I will circulate after.
A little bit when I read through them.
Yeah. So the Getting Things, the Getting Things Done system has worked wonders for many sort of celebrities as well, which I'm always a bit wary about. If too many celebrities say, yeah, this one brought me the Oscar, etc., then okay, I'm not there. However, what's lovely about the David Allen system, the Getting Things Done, GTD, there's free podcasts, some of them very short, so also to just get tips and tricks. I remember attending a presentation of Igno's where he flipped my day around. Igno, kudos, thank you. He flipped my day around. I used to, for instance, but we'll get to that, something like email. If you look at all the information coming in, so that's if I can just get my pen here, all the info in. all the info in. And I mean, when I work through this with my new venture creation experience, I've got a matrix of all the social media platforms, the WhatsApp personal, the WhatsApp business, the work email, the personal email, sometimes a second personal email. I mean, if you put your matrix together of where possible to-do items come to you from, it's normally an incredible array. If you include people phoning, people walking past me in the home, at the client or whatever, which is also the face-to-face, etc. So what an incredible number of sources for possible to-do items. And the marvelous thing which I love about the GTD system is, let's call it, it's almost like the, I don't know if you know the KonMari decluttering your home system, the beautiful Japanese technique for decluttering your home. GTD is almost that for me with what I'm carrying in my brain. So it's the cleansing. So that's the step one, cleansing, meaning I go through all my information sources and my inboxes and my drawers and what's in here. And I formulate a process, a concrete process, which can be computer-based or writing. And I write my to-do items, the things I've always wanted to do, my great dreams, my small dreams, the dreams I'm busy with, the stuff I have to do, the chores, everything. I write until I'm empty. That's a marvelous thing which I loved about getting things done. What I personally didn't like about getting things done is, by the time I had emptied myself, that overwhelm was almost too much for me to handle. To see that literally all these items, including all my childhood dreams, and I just felt this, it's all out there. So I do recommend the process. However, when I put my style into it, I'm so glad my initials are also WS sometimes. There's a W. Shakespeare in history. And first thing is, he was a freelancer. People think he was this last-minute artistic genius if you look at the movies. However, he was a grain merchant, and probably quite a sneaky one at that. He was a property developer, which he later combined into also developing his theatres. Obviously, let's put up some townhouses and add a theatre in today's mix, and then on that beautiful, beautiful, solid base, the poetry, the songs, the plays, etc. happened. So that's the first side note of Shakespeare. And what he obviously also famously said is, all the world is a stage, and we are the players. We are merely players, and men and women, paraphrasing now, because I'm also a WS, paraphrasing now, men and women, in our lifetimes, we have our entrances and our exits, some of them very big like birth, and some of them very large, and also every day, entrance, exit. I'm privileged to have entered this stage, and I will exit it in just a few minutes. So, and in every man and woman plays many roles. That's what I wanted to say. Plays many roles in their lifetime. So it's on with Shakespeare's lead that I got a breakthrough for me where I said, this just writing or word clouding was just another form of overwhelm. I had to some way keep track. So I did the cleansing. When I redid it. When I did it again, I did it according to the roles I fulfill, personally, professionally. And I mean that, and the magic of that is because I'm also a great fan of acceptance and commitments training, which is very values-based. And values is such a foggy, fuzzy thing sometimes. However, if I look at my week, my month, my year, I think most of us can pretty accurately get to a place where we say, these are our roles. Every day I'm a self, and there's eating and drinking and thinking and speaking and moving and so on. So just the vessel type, the biological thing, the personal relationships, each one of those will define a different role. And then professionally speaking, particularly in the freelancing fraternity and maternity, fraternity, is that a word we may use these days? I don't think so. So whatever, the freelancing discipline. In the freelancing discipline, even if I just look at the list that Leonie sent me, I already see more than one role in a number of respects. So if we perhaps frame it by saying, before we do the cleansing, everything I've always wanted to do, all the way to dog food, cat food, and the results of the dog food on the back lawn, which is daddy's responsibility, then we can go into our roles and make a matrix like that. So that would be a suggestion, to do a cleansing based on the roles that you fulfill in your life. And what I also like about that is we get the perspective, the point of view changes. We look in on our lives, which is always a healthy thing also with how we grow as individuals. So after that's done, and I mean I rarely do Excel these days, but this actually worked very well on Microsoft Excel, because you can sort so nicely later on. And you can create an extra column where you flag things just after you've done the cleansing and you have a coffee or a red wine after lockdown. You can maybe then prioritize that and then get back to a framework of what I want to put into every day. And I think this is coming back full circle to the key that Igno gave me in that presentation. I can't even remember whether it was the Freedom Coffee Bubbles coaching, but that thing of, I used to say, I want to clean my emails in the morning. Because, it's sort of that one thing I can get to 10 or 15 items. Problem with that was, with my level of sensitivity or whatever it is, with all those items coming into my consciousness, I would just be like a rabbit staring into the headlights for the rest of the day, be unproductive with the stuff I really want to do, and just feel incredibly exhausted. So when I now took my emails to at the end of the day, and I mean those emails, they don't get any more than 15 to 30 minutes of my time. And I've got four emails that I attend, 4 email inboxes that I attend. And my WhatsApps. So that's 5 main sources of to-dos. So if you do something like this, a roles-based getting things done, cleansing exercise in mapping everything and then sorting it nicely, getting to a framework of how would I like to shape my days, then getting into shifting the emails to a very disciplined spot at the end of the day. And sometimes when an email evokes a negative emotion or a positive, sleeping on it, or even a difficult problem. Difficult problems, something I haven't done before but I would like to try. Sometimes it works best to sleep on it, to allow us to sort it out in sleep, and then maybe with a morning walk or something like that, we sort it out. So that is concretely what I would suggest. And then the brave step, which is not an easy step, is to start blocking out diary for when it suits you, when you are in the zone. That's also where I sent a flow profile questionnaire out to you as well. We'll speak about that in a moment or two. But it's like once you've done let's call it the life planning, because the beautiful thing about all the roles is to say that, okay, forget about work-life balance for a while and just say, what are all the roles that are important to me? And let them be in healthy rivalry with each other. Instead of saying, hard line between this and that, consider that. And then if I see what I need to do from emails and all the sources in the afternoons, morning I can say, okay, I've blocked out maybe a 4-hour or 5-hour. My personal discipline is 4:45 I get up and want to make sure I reach 11 o'clock doing this stuff on projects that are just top priority. And then the nitty-gritties can come in after that. So that's an idea. Does that give you something to chew on?
It does.
Okay. And like I say, the getting things done is wonderful, and David Allen is a wonderful character to listen to as well.
Is the cleansing part of the getting things
Yeah,
done?
that's the main first step. And he suggested it. He's got a specific way that he suggests it. So, but time, and coming back to time like diet, like money, like relationships, it's an individual. We have an individual way of operating outside of time, in time, under time, above time. We all have our. I'm working to where my surfboard becomes a magic carpet. In other words, that I can still have the tidal wave. Maar kan maar lekker val. Then I'm on the magic carpet. I look like I'm surfing, but I'm just 2 centimeters on top. I'm working to that place. I'll let you know if I get there. So I thought about going to the business model canvas for a moment. However, introducing this, what does this remind you of? Kung Fu. Yin and Yang, wonderful. Any beverage references? I always get a beverage reference. Pepsi, thank you. When I was still into colas, or more into colas, Pepsi was my favorite. Because the other guys would make less for greater price, and Pepsi would say, let's give you 600 ml for not a bad price. Anyway, this is the central metaphor that bounced into the startup coaching, my startup coaching practice. The red and the blue ball. And for any freelancer, for any business creator, and in many ways, freelancers are, in my experience, from my own stint as freelancer from, where is it now? From about 2007. I've been becoming freelance, living the freelance life. That the photo, the beautiful photo stories of freelancers. Okay, so the red and the blue ball is the central metaphor. The red is my value proposition as a freelancer. That need that I address, that problem I solve. Sometimes I do both. It's also my joy, my fulfillment, my growth, my learning, my fun. And you can see that it's unfortunately only half of the picture. Because the blue, second and equally important in waiting, it's the circle of business, the circle of life, is my ability to turn this beautiful red side of mine, to convert it to positive cash flow as a business. To do all sorts of planning from time to alignment with market, all sorts of planning, market discovery, etc. To make sure that I can have small victories during my days. Slightly victorious days, victorious weeks, victorious months, victorious years. These small incremental victories that are possible with planning, with luck, all sorts of factors that life gifts us. You can see the victory side, the ability to convert it to positive cash flow, secondarily yet equally important. I'll always advocate that the red must come first. Who are you? Why are you here? What talents do you have? What gifts do you have to share with the world? And then you need to find a market. And that's where the blue side of the ball comes in. And if you then look at so that's the visual side of it. If you look at the business model canvas, you've got a business model canvas in front of you. A wonderfully, deceptively simple framework which can explain any business model from the greatest companies that have ever been and What a blessing that we are living in a time when the greatest companies that have ever been are operational and growing. This can explain from that company to someone contemplating. I heard somebody said, leaving employment and then, becoming freelancer relatively recently. So there's all these ingredients, and starting at the heart of it, the value proposition. Such a vague word sometimes, however it can be so simple. What do? I do startup coaching, and you can make notes, please. I do startup coaching, I do brand discovery as part of the startup coaching. That's for me, it's relatively simple. It took me a while to get to just what do? I coach startups. I help them discover their brands. That's the red side of most of my days. So over to the audience. If I had to put some time pressure on you, anybody quickly want to sort of formulate what do you do? That practical thing. What do you do for people as a freelancer? Take pictures. Thank you. Write articles. Wonderful. Publications. Do artwork. Graphic design. Any others? Read manuscripts. Proofread. Okay.
I think you find and share stories.
Find and share stories. You need to walk a lot for that, hey? Okay. So starting with the value proposition is this, and oftentimes when I get my startup, with online we've got video presentations of their business plan, pictures, and they've got summarized business plans. We try to make it as easy for our entrepreneurs to just get to the grit of what it is they do. It's very interesting how in many cases people, because when you get very specific, then other possibilities are excluded. And I think in the greater creative practitioner or practice family, which I think SAFREA is definitely all family members of the creative practice movement, or the trying to live life creatively. That's sometimes one of the hardest things to do. When I say proofreading, it's like, okay, is it on the language side? Is it on the copy side? Whatever, there's how many shades? 50 shades of entrepreneurship, 50 shades of proofreading, right? So being specific is incredibly powerful. However, when we are in a business that we'll all have our overhead red and blue goals. We know what we need to bring in financially. We know what skills we have, what network we have, etc. And it's to match that, to match what we have, what we can give, like the freelancers of old, to those who will pay the best buck for that which we have to give. So it's a dance, actually. And also something which I will include in your notes is, if I can find it, something which goes along with the value with the business model canvas is the value proposition canvas. Now, to just explain it to you quickly, this is still the same block which you have, value proposition, that's the block. There's my product and service right there. Some of the products and services I render help people to experience a gain or fulfill a need. Some of them help them to relieve pain or reduce their problems, solve their problems, etc. Some of them do both. That's why when you are at a market, a flea market or a boeremark or wherever, you see it's almost always just the food stalls that have a roaring trade. Why? Because we have to eat, it's a need, it's a problem if we're hungry, it's a wonderful experience there. So food is just the bomb. So consider that for a sideline to your freelancing business. Food service.
One of my friends has a saying, he says, never be in the food industry. That's one of his rules.
Oh, really?
Because you're going to work all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't make money though.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if you look at your business model canvas, you'll see customer segments. This is the customer segments part. Can you see, taking the point of view of the customer, the client, looking towards us and our value proposition? So the customer has, and if we analyze our own lives, we have needs, gains, you know, the uplifting things we want to experience. We need those higher things in life, the gains we want to experience, the pains we want to avoid or reduce. You know, and this translates, and this is often the second vague component in my experience of businesses, you know, chiseling their way through time, if time is solid wood, is to understand the job that the customer or the client wants done. And here what I recommend is that we also spend time with existing clients, with prospective clients, in discussing life at large. To understand the client's needs, to understand the client's problems. So often when a client says, I have this problem, it's actually superficial. It's a result of a number of other problems. So if we can get through gentle, curious, questioning, and just really sharing, in whatever this discipline is that we are active. If we can help the client formulate their problems, the client formulate their needs, then we will have that bullseye feeling. When we say, what are the products and services I deliver, mostly service-based, I'm sure, although, you know, when a corporate identity there, it also is there. It also has a product feeling, right? So there's service and product in many respects. And I'm sure if you still print photos, those of you photography, it also becomes a product, right? Do you agree with me? There's a producty, servicey type overlap in a lot of what you do. Okay? So the service to get the language and the copy perfect, and then the copy, you know, so then it's a thing. Anyway, finished product.
And we still produce photographs, and it's just digitally.
Indeed,
I cannot deliver a story without a photo.
for sure. Stories and photos go together in the 10,000 words. Is that you want to say something, Igna?
Yeah, just interesting. So one of the things which must I look at that, I think. Was it you?
Usually behind the camera.
What's really interesting is I spoke to a lady who is a photographer the other day, and she's highly successful internationally. And she said she had this insight given to her by someone. She was taking pictures of kids with their sports clothes on, and she was touring townships in South Africa doing all things. And a guy walked up to her and said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm taking pictures." "What's your product?" "My product is pictures." He said, "No, your product is confidence."
Wow.
Once you take a picture and the kid sees that, they're more confident because the way you see them is a new way for them to see themselves.
Wow.
So even photography is, how do I tell the story to mean more than just, here's a picture of you, here's a recipe for confidence or something.
And if you know that, that will influence the way you do your work.
Yes, and she said that changed the entire way she was doing photography, because all of a sudden you had a slightly lower angle, you made the kid look stronger, you checked that they were neat, you checked that they looked good, and all kinds of things. Because I built confidence.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Igna, and I mean, there's a lot of talk about, you know, searching for your why, searching for the values that drive your service or your product offerings. So in a case like that, if it's important to me to invite and inspire, I almost want to say a true confidence, an authentic confidence in, look, this was actually you, you know, this is actually you. So there's no snake oil on top. It's literally just revealing that which maybe somebody didn't know about themselves. What a wonderful value one can then say that I go through life and that's the way I give my droplets of gold to others in saying that, did you know you can do this, or look like this, or be impressive like that? Wonderful. So also anchoring in values, definitely important. So our gift, the gift that we have, really understanding the job that it is that they want done. We'll take some conversations. And even for existing businesses, when you want to renew your business model, when you want to focus more. I used to, before this wonderful opportunity came, I transitioned from more life coaching to more business coaching. And then still, I put, I think, 6 types, flavors, executive coaching, team coaching, strategic planning, 6 just to be covered. And I mean, that in itself didn't serve much of a purpose. The wonderful thing about the ability to say, startup coaching, I want to work with people who dive into entrepreneurship. Bring them on. It's just one thing, but it's a whole range of things. Leonie.
Now, I was just wondering, I spoke to Werner just before we started. You talk about understanding the need of the client, and some of them is just like you ask questions and you get like a one-liner. What do you do then?
Questions that elicit one-liners. That's wonderful. And I think it's quite challenging. Let's say with an existing client or someone who knows that I am there to pitch for something. I'm pitching for a job, for instance. That's sometimes, if we look at the tightrope and we look at the lip of the tidal wave tsunami type thing, that could sometimes be if one asks a question in that atmosphere. I think it's sometimes tough, because then it's sort of, listen, I just want sort of best quote and propose and get out of here. So I think the timing of the conversation, in my experience, when somebody really gets it, that at the moment I'm withholding selling. I'm literally just sharing, like for instance this story that Ignou now shared, why do I love photography? And possibly in many of your cases, you can probably connect it to a story in your own life. And I mean, just being self, that beautiful, sometimes it's self-humor or self-deprecation is not a nice word, but just saying, even though I've got good skills that I can exchange for your value, I can still tell a story about you, like I attempted to do just now in saying I'm 6 kind of coaches just brought me nothing. It was just expense on a website. Well, I learned my lesson, hopefully. Does that give you something to work with? The timing? And then perhaps in the planning for the conversation, getting some conversation lines which you can almost fast forward, and it won't go too close to a sales vibe. Because the moment, we are in an era of telesales, regardless of which industry. So if that selling energy is on, and it's on primarily before the client is right or ripe, then in my experience, once again, there's a close off or a one-liner. I don't know if you have anything else to share with the timing of sort of conversations which will help paint the picture of my client more fully, that I not only understand what they put forward as a need or a problem, but I can actually go, and there's actually wonderful videos. It's called, I'll share with you one in the, I want to say show notes. It feels like a show with this beautiful, and I haven't had a gig for a while, so forgive me. I'll share it with you as well. There's a wonderful technique the Japanese started at 5 why. Where you just take my problem is this. Then you just ask a few whys. It's so wonderful to see how the root cause comes out. And so often, like for instance, if we take the current time frame, we're dealing with a pandemic. you know, we're dealing with all sorts of volatile things and vaccines and so on. And think of the incredible business spike for the big pharma, the PPE industry, all sorts of other industries that now solve this problem or help to reduce or avoid this pain. However, once the human formulation for ivermectin or whatever, in combination with vaccines, in combination with human resilience, all those things, once they manage to put the virus next to the flus and other viruses, we don't know whether that's going to happen. Should that happen, all of a sudden, the big worldwide pain will just be zoop. And then if one focused one's business solely on that, then what? Then I've got to make so businesses which are pain relief focused oftentimes are more fragile in terms of the need.
So it's about giving somebody something that they don't know they want.
That's a very good way to put it. Giving something to somebody that they don't know they want.
Pain,
yes.
that it's a need, but they don't actually know that it's a need yet.
And that's where this conversation comes in. You know, the security industry is so fantastic. I had a wheelchair brother in Kimberley who does the artistic strong welding, you know, from a wheelchair. Wonderful, wonderful business there. And so with him, I mean, security affects us all. You know, it's one of the top things we speak about most days. So having a conversation about security, about how I feel unsafe, even though I'm the security provider, which is the truth, that will, and that's the beautiful thing. We are not going to get to a point in the conversation where we take a snapshot of the client and say, aha, I've helped you formulate your problem and it's this. But the conversation, real human conversation of a fear or a need that we all, you know, the need to have an authentic assertive confidence perhaps is something many people will also share. So just to balance the conversation, that at the end of that conversation, we both feel heard, we both feel that we've shared, and we've shared that common denominator of, I'm also afraid when, about my loved ones when I'm out of town in Kimberley. I'm also scared. Is the alarm on? Is the alarm on? I also say that when I say goodnight to my wife, that type of thing. So to your point, get the conversation to balance, that you've learned what you need to learn. And I think maybe while we practice it in, or while we become a master at doing these types of conversations, then perhaps consciously we have this thing, which is a tough thing to have inside, is that I'm having this conversation also to sell to you at some point, right? However, I think as our focus becomes clear, as what we do and what it serves becomes clearer and clearer, I think later it becomes more about the conversation, the humanity, the being human together. That, yeah, I am pitching to you now to get 25 startup entrepreneurs that you sponsor or whatever, sure. However, I see it as a reason for humans to be together and to learn from each other, etc., etc. So that's a tough one to balance. Okay.
But I agree, because you often get to what you need to by first having something in common.
Absolutely.
And, you know, just chatting about, like, except for instance, like the past year, you're in a meeting on Zoom, everybody's like, oh, how are you feeling? Are you feeling like so claustrophobic because you're at home? Everybody feels that way. And just having a conversation like that, like, eases everything, and then, you know,
absolutely,
might lead to something more, or the actual, more like a thing that you want to sell.
But that's what we do in journalism too. You approach people you don't know from a bar soap, and you have to be human to them, and to not just talk about, oh, I want my story now, I want facts
And
now.
where's your biggest question?
You see the picture against the
At
wall,
the end.
and you talk about, sorry?
Your biggest question is at the end. You
You
save it.
talk about the picture on the wall, and then
I love that.
you have to make them comfortable, because they know you're there to pitch, but you don't want us to look like this monster
the story monster, right?
I'm a story monster, but I don't know.
But you can be a lovable one.
And that is this is the beautiful. I think sometimes if you take a lot of the selling being done, a lot of the unsolicited selling, and I mean, what is the extent? Talking about information coming in, what is the extent of unsolicited sales across all communication channels? Just for me as an individual, if I had to map the amount of the sheer extent of attempts to sell to me, it's incredible. So, in a sense, that is also a monster. That's a dragon. However, the How to Train Your Dragon franchise has brought us something new in the story shape there. And that's we no longer have to kill the poor dragon that hoards gold and virgins. Although the dragon can't do anything with a lady or with gold, it just protects it and kills the knights. We can now train the dragon, and I think that is I think an aspect in all of us, really wants to get the juice of what we can give. Like Aksuka's story, I want that story, because it's my bullseye. It's what I'm sort of what gets me up in the morning, even before coffee sometimes. And
So ironic, sorry to interrupt.
no, sorry, I'm babbling.
We spoke about time, and it's actually, and freelancers are always pressed for time, but you actually need to give your time to your client, and not just rush things, but just just show them that you're really there.
And what I would also like to suggest with the red and the blue ball is we also need to invest in our own growth, deepening our values-based understanding of why we do what we do, our skills and mastery. So it's a bit of both as well. And I think that's also where the emails in the afternoon. So from when I wake up to a certain time on most days, I can invest in my skills, I can invest in my learning, I can invest in my relationship, network, etc. And then maybe get to the operational side, operational and financial side later. So that customer segment value proposition canvas, very important. And then one thing which I've got a group of cloud accountants, and we talk about accountants and VAT and tax if you want to as well. Otherwise, I'll just summarize the questions that Leonie sent to me and email it to you. What do your clients expect of you? And what do you want your clients to expect of you? Is there a difference? If you're at the client face, what do they expect of you? Reliability? Excellence?
Werner, those are both subjective. You have to ask them what they expect in order to give it.
I like that.
I think I delivered excellence.
But they don't agree. If I think I'm reliable, but I interpret it, let's say it's a story I do about the conjunction of the planets. I don't send it to Prof. Hoffman and I say, well, would you mind checking? And I just send it, and he sees it in the magazine, and he doesn't like it because there are two things which I messed up. So I think it's always about checking in whether they agree with me and whether I'm on the right track. Because I think so often we think we know, and it's that blind spot that we all have. I want to be reliable, I want to be excellent, and then I don't check. And I'm neither reliable nor excellent. I had breakfast at a shop this morning. I ended up in a smoking area with cold food. I didn't want to tell the waiter, but I'm not going to go back there because no one checked in.
Yeah.
But there's a way of checking in asking, because an amiable person won't answer. But there's also a way of checking and saying, what did I do here? How excellent is this according to my standard and then global standards? And if it's excellent and I can compare well, I think this is good. So
I like that. So is it then fair to say you want clients to expect from you to be accountable to them regarding what they need?
Yeah, I think so.
So in other words, not just get a brief and go do it, but keep having a conversation, checking in, and it's once again two threads. It's multi-threaded. It's real relationship. When I check in and it's nice to speak to you as well, and I want to tell you where I am, what struggles I've had. And so often we think we have to solve so much of it on our own, although many clients will not have a problem if it almost becomes a co-creative or a collaborative project, for instance, because we're just so open and sharing. So wonderful. Thanks for the submission, Igna. Client relationships, channels, getting to the nitty-gritties, all those communication channels. I just want to say here that there's a lot of hype channels. I'm sure those of you in social media, the channels are great at taking our money. That's one thing we can say about a channel. They are fantastic. From the newspaper, the magazine, the Salesforce, whatever channel you've got, all the way to the social medias and the webs. They are fantastic at taking money. So it's also about finding channels that work. And I believe word of mouth, assignment to assignment, you're going to struggle to beat that. So that's the from me to my market side. And it culminates in, this is how I understand you, this I'm accountable to you, this is the kind of relationship we craft together. The customer or the client is always human. Just like me. Okay. So, but thank you for playing along.
Werner, I can add one there for you. They always say the customer is the, which part is king or the queen?
And Prof. Willie van der Merwe used to teach marketing. He said the customer is the queen. He said you are the king.
Wonderful.
Because it's your territory. You understand it. You must make the queen feel comfortable. But if the queen does things which are not right in the territory, then you have to tell her. And so if a customer overplays their role, and they do things which, if I throw a tantrum in a coffee shop and I disturb the atmosphere, yes, I am the queen in terms of they want to serve me properly, but if I start interfering with other customers' comfort and they don't feel well, then you need to take me aside and like a good king say, listen, I can't take this, let's take this outside. Because it's your territory, it's your coffee shop, you're the king of the coffee shop. And so when you do photography, the customer might want something and you know this can't work. And you're the photographer still. So you need to say, well, can we go outside? I don't want to take a picture in your office because there are 5 million pictures of people in their offices. Would you mind going outside? You take the responsibility. You want to please the customer. You want to make them look good. You want to build their confidence. But it means to take responsibility sometimes to be the king rather than the queen. And maybe this is not gender correct. Maybe we should now say the customer is the king and you're the queen, you're in charge. I'm not sure how that works now. But
I think we can, thanks for that. And just to put my W Shakespeare angle on that, if you integrate the king and the queen with a chessboard, and that is also true for clients. Clients can go in any direction like a queen on a chessboard. And the king, we have our focused way in our business to go about it. So we have more of a narrow focus. I love the king and the queen analogy, and I will remember it on a chessboard. The queen is really powerful also, because in business terms, she has the purse strings, etc. On the one hand, on the other hand, I have the value to exchange for value. So in a way, it's also still my carrots for your tomatoes.
But if the king is gone, it's game over.
Indeed.
So if your business is not there, you can't please any of the other customers.
Absolutely. This is a quick stop. Revenue streams. We all love revenue streams, I'm sure. We only have a few of these coming in a month before the debit order sharks come ping, 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 ping on our smartphones. So the revenue streams coming in. I often experience some issues, and I know it was a SAFREA issue in the previous decade. The whole pricing, how to price, how hard to be on pricing, etc. And if you can see this whole process I'm talking about, we speak about the photography to reveal the confidence that I'm not even aware of. And I think that's also, for me, pricing is also like the photography. Because I mean, pricing should be also a reliable and a stable type thing. You don't want to ask there and there for the different type of jobs, except if it's like a pro bono or a charity job, etc. For me, pricing there's also a snapshot quality to pricing when we cross over into this beautiful, mythical, mysterious thing of value. Because I mean, value is just so much more than money. However, if we look at the red and the blue ball, we need to convert that red to blue with regularity. So give me some inputs on pricing, your personal confidence levels on pricing. Or whatever comes to mind regarding pricing. Please join us. Welcome, welcome. Have a seat.
I don't know if, well, I'm kind of new. I get an amount from the customer and I say, okay, that's fine. So the pricing thing is a new thing.
Okay.
I don't know what others do, and obviously everybody does, or I don't know if there's a standard of per hour work or photography plus copy and so on.
I think it differs. Pricing is the hardest thing because writing an article is one thing. If you charge per word, that's kind of easy for me.
Yeah.
But when it comes to other things like social media or setting your time or, say for instance, strategizing a media or whatever, I mean, that's much harder than just saying, okay, I charge 1, 2, 3 rand per word. You know, that's easier because usually the brief is like 250 words, 400 words, then it's easy. But pricing, I think, is a big thing, especially for most of us that have worked, say, for a salary for a long time in your life.
Yeah.
You get paid, you do your job, and now suddenly you need to charge something. And to connect the value that you bring to them to money, I can make the joke, most of us are language practitioners, so mathematics is not the strongest thing. For me, I always joke about that. Not that I can't do maths, but it's hard for me to tell somebody, I'm going to charge you this for that. And I'm like, I almost feel weird about it.
That's beautiful.
But I'm giving somebody a service, so actually, you know, I'm giving them something they're going to get something for it, so they need to pay me, but I feel awkward asking them for money.
Wonderful.
Can
I celebrate that. Just a moment of celebration is just to, I think that's something which pervades particularly professionals, and all the P's are just flowing. Professionals are pervaded who really say, this is what I do well, this is what I like, stepping outside of formal aspects of the economy, etc. I think it's par for the course, and it's wonderful because it says there's a sensitivity to the client's totality, their well-being, etc. And it took me almost with my focus, which almost fell on my lap. It wasn't even my doing. Last year, for the first time since 2007, I became comfortable in my skin. When Leonie and I had our conversation about the value exchange for this afternoon, it was so wonderful to just say, okay, well, there's my starting point. Let's talk budget, etc. Deal done. And that beautiful thing of almost the conversation equilibrium of, I know I'm going to give my best performance, try, share some thoughts with good humans, and feel good about the quote, that type of thing. So I bless that and might grow to beautiful, solid places for you.
I was actually saying I still have a problem with it, but
yeah.
Well, if I can maybe just chip in here and give a bit of plug for SAFREA as well. They have a wonderful resource, and that is the SAFREA rates card, or rates, what do they call it? They have another term for it. But that's something that was very useful for me. That's actually how I learned about SAFREA, when I realized I don't know what to charge. And they do thorough research and consult widely before they draw up these rates. Again, I don't know what I call it. There's a rate structure. rates report, and
Yes.
they update it regularly. So and they go into detail to say if you check language check, you can charge this, and different provinces even there's a breakdown.
Yes.
So that's a useful
Wonderful.
thing to consult if you're not sure what to charge in our industry.
Thank you, Charlene. And it's also part of the research. I'm now working, my wife and I, we're working on a lactose-free dairy brand that we want to keep in Bloemfontein to help that brand build their business. And I mean, it's the same thing. Those yogurts, lactose-free yogurts, what do they charge at Woolies, Checkers, Pick n Pay? You know, the daily cheese, the herb daily cheese, is there a comparative? Yeah, the Tussers or the whatever. What do they charge at the various shops? So SAFREA has done this to a certain extent for you. And then I also believe that, to your point of still struggling with it, there's also research you can do here. And the question of the budget is always a good starting point as well. Because clients...
It's easier with each job though.
Yeah, many clients have budgets, so sometimes just to say to offer them the opportunity of say, what is your available budget? Because we all want we all want this activity to work all round. So that's also a collaborative conversation about budget.
I don't know about the relevance of this one here, but at some point there was also a conversation. I still use the national rates, maybe take down at least 50 rands from the national rates and then just throw the amount to the client and see what the client pays. Yeah.
Thank you. There's a growth thing as well. It's like a tree that grows. And I mean, if one's career is seen as like a fruit tree or a nut tree, those trees with a high value yields, or maybe you look at yourself as a cash crop. I don't know. It's up to you. I like the big tree vision, which says I want to grow all the way, growth or nothing, that type of thing. So if you're also in that neck of the woods, figuratively speaking, then I mean, there's no use telling a pistachio tree or cursing a pistachio tree at 4 years and saying, where are my nuts? There's just no use, because it will be 7 years, 8 years, 9 years that it comes. So some things, and we still have to eat this month, which is beautiful.
Werner, can I quickly ask you?
You're welcome.
Based on what was said now, I think you've got value propositions that you've got there, but there's value perceptions as well.
Yeah, you were talking about word of mouth. Now, let's say you're a customer and you go to two people's websites. The one person's got their website, it's beautifully done by a designer. It's probably more expensive for that person. But you look at the website and I can almost say it smells expensive. Then you go to another person's website, it's a Wix website, it actually says it was created on Wix at the bottom, and it's slammed together, it looks like something from 2002. Immediately, although the person with a 2002 website might be 10 times better than the other person, you live with perception. So what you do on media and social media are all part of the story. So the value proposition should be the value perception. People, when they buy from, let's say it's a wedding photographer, if someone charges you 2,000 Rand to do your wedding photography, you think, oh, this is not the right person. If they charge 20,000, you start looking at your budget and you check in with the mother-in-law. A lot of them sits between. I think a lot of people are in there. But I mean, every photographer, and that comes to your point of experience, has started with one wedding. Now someone thought, okay, this is my first wedding, I'm going to give it away for free. And someone else said, I'm good. They think they're good. Many other photographers would believe they're absolutely terrible. But because they love it, they're good, and the bride thinks it's good, and it becomes good. So they charge 10,000 Rand, and someone looks at them and says, how can they charge that for that? And many people have done that. And that's your loss, that's your problem. And because I think, as you said, he's kind of, we all word and verbal people. We're not mathematical. People like you are into accounting. You understand those kinds of things. But my wife still believes Woolworths milk lasts longer than Sparrow milk. But the milk's done before the expiry date anyway, because of the kids. But she goes there because it lasts long. And the interesting thing is, what's the story, the brand story and perception that you create? Because a lot of your price can be determined by how you look in the market. Just
coming back to the channels as well. Try to spend money to be on 17 channels, or pick 2-3 channels where I can keep a consistent story going that works for me. I want to chase through the left side, the blue side of the ball, which goes into our cost structure. Because obviously to deliver all of this, to get revenue streams at our growing confidence in pricing, we need to do daily key activities. And this is also coming back to your cleansing. Everything we have to do, from the dog food to my next assignment for a client, what I need to do are all important key activities for me. The beautiful thing about key activities is, and this is I think also one thing a freelancer, as any CEO or business creator, can take to heart, is saying that this is a lot of the messages in South Africa about business, small business, whatever, is, you know, they sort of celebrate the fact that you can do everything. You can do your company compliance, you can do your accounting, you can do your books, you can do your finances, all that. Those things have absolutely nothing to do with your value proposition. So much is said to us, almost in business culture, that it has to be like this, or there's some romantic view of that. There are such wonderful key external partners out there. And I don't even say accountants anymore, I say cloud accountants, because the cloud is here. Immediate real-time cash reporting is here. My firm of accountants that supply me with accounting services has given me apps to take photos of my expense slips. And then it just goes all the way to the books. And when SARS audits me, I can just do a 3-minute download. Audit done. Used to take me 2 or 3 days to do a SARS audit. So for you as the driver, the creator, the CEO of your own business, do you know which key activities feed your value proposition, which keep you growing, which keep your relationships deepening, etc.? Becoming the core, the heart of your business more solid? Can you discern between your important daily activities and say, these are the ones that feed my value proposition, make my business more valuable? Those are your tasks. The other very important tasks, like compliance and companies registrar stuff and licensing and whatever, business admin, there are virtual administrators arising in Bloemfontein. For real, virtual, for real. They are in Bloemfontein. So there are such wonderful key external partners. For instance, the other day, I got 25 submissions from my brothers and sisters in Kimberley, the entrepreneurs. Stack of 150 feedback sheets after we had a circle of trust where they presented in conversation their business plan. So a stack of 150 written documents. I passed it on to virtual administrators, which I use. Go-Getters Admin is their name. Marketing Moment. They are in Waverley. And for what was their charge? $1,200. Giving it back to me exactly as I wanted it. The qualitative and the quantitative feedback from our judges. 150 input sheets. I could have done it. It's important to do it. But man, did I use the key external partner. And it's sometimes not easy for me to use other people because I need that handle on quality. Almost I sometimes think even my admin needs to be the quality that I want to render my services at. Anyway, so that thing, key activities, which of them is for the CEO, and the key resources, could your team members or collaborators can also help? But which can you give away? Which are non-core, which are non-value proposition enhancing? And then we had some questions about cost structure, finance at large. I don't know if you have any questions on this. Truly is a very quick trip around the the totality of a business model?
Channels. What precisely are channels?
Ah, channels. What is your understanding of channels on the marketing side, the discovering, the getting, keeping, and growing my customer or client side? What do you understand as channels? Audience? Or do you want me to say? Literally, channels are how you get, how you keep, and how you grow your clients. So how do you get them? We spoke about word of mouth. We spoke about website. We spoke about social media, newspaper, radio, channel. WhatsApp is becoming a channel more and more now. WhatsApp business is becoming more and more of a channel. So there are many, myriad of channels. And for me, there's also a requirement for efficiency in one's channels. I used to, when I started out my coaching practice, I've had this expanding and then consolidating rhythm in my career as I went into new things and then brought them together again. So in that process, I think about in my SAFREA days, towards the end of the previous decade, I was extremely spread around a lot of channels and platforms. And everyone got shallow attention, and it was such a mission to keep my face and my business stuff going there. And I mean, where I'm now today, I'm thinking of saying goodbye to Facebook, even Facebook Business, and just focusing on LinkedIn. Because the new venture creation space, the funding to fund startup entrepreneurs, it's incredible what LinkedIn can do. And to find for your totality, your value totality, that channel or two channels, over and above word of mouth, which I'll always say, you have to have word of mouth and the technological channels. But find those for you that will create that efficiency where your spend into the channel is helping you get, keep, grow clients. Anything else on the business model canvas before I wrap up with part 2 of the story and perhaps a song? Is this my yes? Okay, so I'm going to intro the story for a moment. We had an Eastern European scene. Nasruddin was the character. And he went into a bathhouse in Eastern Europe in freezing winter, and he was treated poorly by the bathhouse attendant, who ran him a lukewarm bath and gave him an old rag of a towel. And when he exited the bathhouse, he paid the bathhouse attendant with a gold coin. So the bathhouse attendant jumped up, said like this, "Oh, greatest friend moment, like, sir, thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to seeing you again." And Nasruddin left the bathhouse. The very next day, he returned to the bathhouse, and as he chimed through the door, the attendant saw him, whereas the previous day didn't even notice him. So the attendant jumped to attention and said, "Sir, welcome back. So lovely to see you again." He gave him a brand new towel. You know that smell of a new towel, never been used, thirsty, thick. He gave it to him. He ran him a bath so hot that it ended up lasting more than an hour in that freezing winter. So what a luxurious bathing experience. While he was taking his bath, the attendant served snacks and no less than 3 cups of wonderful, top quality tea to Nasruddin in the bathhouse. So, I mean, after having, like my children would say, having raisin skin, achieved raisin skin from hour plus bathing, Nasruddin got out, toweled himself off with that beautiful, thirsty plush towel, got dressed, and on his way out, he paid the attendant with a measly bronze coin. And the attendant looked at the coin and said, "Sir, I don't understand fully. Yesterday you paid me in gold. Today you're paying me with a bronze coin," coming back to the alchemists. And Nasruddin said, "Ah, my friend, Yesterday, I paid you for today. And today, I'm paying you for yesterday. So coming to the best business or the best business plan, you can see the two characters, you can see the value exchange, right? I believe the best business plan is where there's a happy client and a happy service provider and positive cash flow. Ta-da! Why was I born on this earth? Who measures my self-worth? What should I do with my life? How do I deal with my strife? Voices outside have their say. Most advocate iron or clay. My truth lies somewhere between. The final voice lives in me. If you chase the right rainbow, my friend, you'll find a pot of gold in your very own heart. If you chase the right rainbow, my friend, gold will start to flow from your very own heart. Gold will start to flow from your very own heart. I've got something to give, a surprising reason to live, something to add to the world. Life wonders love to behold. If you chase the right rainbow, my friend, you'll find a pot of gold in your very own heart. If you chase the right rainbow, my friend, gold will start to flow from your very own heart. Very own heart. Billions of tiles, mosaic, beautiful live work of art. Each only shines with one life, solely be found in our hearts. Do what I love, what I do. Journey deep down inside. My heart's treasure swells like a tide. Love what I do, what I love. Love what I do, what I love. One more time, last again. If you chase the right rainbow, my friend, you'll find a pot of gold in your very own heart. If you chase the right rainbow, my friend, gold will start to flow from your very own heart. Gold will start to flow from your very own heart. Very own heart. Very own heart. Thank you. I think that's the... There we go. There we go. Wow.